is to be checking the vehicle, monitoring the vehicle systems as it makes its way down to T0. And again, this gives us the ability to catch anything and be able to hold, as Dan has been saying, and recycle if we need to, or pause so that we can work through those issues and see if it's something that we need to stand down for. And as Dan mentioned, we will be holding at T-minus 40 seconds, so in about 20 seconds from now.
Yeah, so we'll hold there, and they'll work through these final checkouts on, sounds like just one of those Raptors on the first stage on Super Heavy, which, as you said, we're reflying it for the first time. 29 of those 33 engines have already been used in a launch, one of which has already launched
twice, and we'll go for
and
its
is getting ready for its third
time.
Right. And you just heard our flight director for the day, Joe Sliker. He just shared that we are going to hold at this T-minus 40 second mark, keeping an eye on one of those Raptor engines on booster.
Yeah.
They're holding at T-minus 40 for one Raptor engine on the first stage, so that gave you time. But yeah.
So why are they holding at them?
There's a problem with one booster, or with one Raptor engine.
And if you're just now jumping in, we are holding still at T-minus 40 seconds. Watching one engine, waiting for temperature, trying to get to a zone that we want them to on one of the engines on the booster, on the Super Heavy booster, getting ready for its second ever flight. We'll just continue to hold. Again, we can hang out here for several minutes. We held for a while on the first attempt last time and then cleared it, and then we triggered a different issue on the ground side.
But again, this is exactly what it's for. This gives us the best chances at success.
And the clock is rolling.
Let's go.
Clock rolling.
All right.
All right, you ready?
T-minus 30 seconds. Let's listen in. Watch that first flight proven Super Heavy. Get ready to take off from Starbase.
Go for launch.
Is this the Twitter stream?
Yeah, this is the Twitter stream. 15 right now. DFS started. That's a new GUI. Oh, they held it again.
Hit hold.
They held it again.
We did have a hold, and looks like the clock jumped back to T-minus 40 seconds.
They held it again, but the DFS can't, or only the first stage of water only started. Which
all right, so we jumped down. I did not see the deflector go off. So hopefully we were right at around that T-minus 10 second mark.
I can't hear you.
And if we were before that T-minus 10 second
What do you mean
mark,
they don't have to restart?
the ability to recycle, as we mentioned earlier, back to T-minus 40
the main water deflector, the main water deflectors didn't restart, which means if it did start, then it would have kept running.
It was a ground side issue. We're taking a look at this real quick. So
and we would have had to redo.
We're back at T-minus 40.
It would have been a
scrub for a little bit.
If the water deflection system, or the second
water
deflection started,
for the day.
The first one only started, which means
it's to work through this. Again, we can hang out at T-minus 40 for several minutes. Eventually, we start looking.
So what was the issue this time?
And all of your
it was something on the ground.
Vehicle. We're not actively replenishing the propellant on board Super Heavy and Starship.
Boy, I'd hate to be the guy
don't have essentially forever to hang out before things start
10
to
seconds.
warm up.
Everybody has to hold
your
at 10
temperatures
seconds.
in a really stable range for a healthy startup on Raptor engines. So they're going to work through this issue. We can continue to hold here for a couple of minutes. What's launch without a little extra added excitement?
I mean, it is one of those things where it's like, it's going to suck either way. Because how this works. Like.
Yeah, I think. Good. No, I was going to say, SpaceX calls the ground support stage 0. And it's just as important that work every time.
What happens if something fails last second?
Hold on. Again, this is a ground side issue on our tower. The techs are looking through the data right now to see if it's something that we can either work through or if it would cause us to have to stand down. So we're continuing to hang out with them, holding at T-minus 40.
Yeah, it just goes sideways, it just sits there and doesn't do anything, and then the parachute pops out all set. Like, you don't want that. You want the ground support equipment to work properly.
If you're just joining us, we did initially hold at T-minus 40 seconds. We continued the count, but recycled before we got to T-minus 10 seconds. And so we're back at a hold at T-minus 40 seconds. Waiting for more information. The team is checking out to see if we can continue today.
To a 40-second hold. They have some time, or we're looking for the fire suppression system. Go ahead, Jeff. What do we have left in the window? 5 minutes? How long is it going to be?
I was going to say, but that'll be have loaded propellant. The whole
continuing to hold here at T-minus 40 seconds. We've been holding for just about 5 minutes now.
It's still looking at all of the
as the teams evaluate if we can continue to T0 for Flight 9.
This is holding in account. Like, this is bad.
It'll restart at 40,
Alright, so
but
it sounds like we're coming to a resolution.
Alright, they're coming to a resolution. That means they're going to restart it soon. I think.
Just tell me when I have to turn around. That's all I care about.
Yeah, they've got time. They've got time.
So of course, this is the obligatory point.
Alright, so we are getting to a resolution. We're going to reset everything.
Don't reset everything, please.
Ultimately, is super complicated. Like, well, rocket science, not brain surgery, but it is rocket science. So, you want to make sure it was essentially your giant fuel tanks and very fancy plumbing.
Alright, so we're going to see the clock. It is now rolling.
Alright, clock is rolling.
Clock's rolling.
Here we go.
We saw an issue with that quick disconnect to the ship.
Quick disconnect.
There is a chance that automation will kick us out again if we encounter the same issue. But for now, the clock is rolling.
So
we'll see if we pass around that T-minus 10 seconds.
19 seconds.
7. We're doing good. Hold.
10.
9.
Fuck! Oh, wait, never mind.
7. 6.
5. 3. Alright, daily started.
1.
Ignition. And there's liftoff. Raptors lit. That's nice.
Booster Raptor fuel pressure nominal.
$35 seconds. 33 still lit.
T-minus 40 seconds. It's one hell of a sight from here. We see it arcing right over top of us. We see 33 out of 33 Raptor engines
That's a good shot right
on
there,
super heavy as it starts to ascend skyward.
Dude, these tracking cameras are insane.
Coming up on maximum aerodynamic pressure, then only about a minute and a half until we get into hot staging.
And vehicles should be supersonic now.
What is max?
Wow, Dan, that was
maximum pressure on the ship, or maximum pressure on the rocket. So that's the maximum aerodynamic like force that the rocket will experience.
The vehicle's power.
I love the wide-angle cameras on these.
Now we're just about a minute away from shutting down those engines on the booster. Again, this booster is flying for its second time today.
All right, so hot staging coming up. What does she mean?
What does she mean? What?
We're going to see all but the 3 center engines turn off on the booster. So our version
the
of
ship
Nico,
got
most
caught
engines
in
cut off.
Flight 7, I'm pretty
sure. And then just a few seconds later, hoping to see 6 engines ignite on ship to push it away.
I thought she was talking about they already launched one today.
No.
No,
she
should.
Launch was 89 days or 80 something days ago.
All right, hot staging about 30 seconds.
Uh-oh. Did we lose altitude control? Oh no, that's meant to do. Oh, they're. Oh, okay, that's sick.
What?
So definitely keep an eye on which way the booster flips.
This is something new that they're doing.
Flip we're going for today
changed
should flip straight up.
They changed what way it's facing up for the booster, so they're making it so the four fins are like. The four fins aren't.
See those
just
engines
like
powering
90
down?
degrees, 70. It's like
booster engine cutoff.
Hold on, let me watch this. Booster engine cutoff. There's stage separation. There we go. Separation. There's boost back startup, and it went straight up.
Boost back startup!
Incredible flip by
up.
Super Heavy booster, and you can see those 6 engines.
That's a
those
crazy shot.
On
Look
the
at
ship
that.
Ignited.
6 healthy Raptors running on
oh
ship.
My, that's amazing.
Space. Peek that engine view. Booster doing the boost back.
That's amazing.
Chris, how's it looking over there in Hawthorne, man?
It is looking...
chamber pressure is nominal.
It is looking absolutely incredible here in Hawthorne. As we said, 6 healthy engines on ship. We've got 13 out of 13 engines on the booster.
Okay, down to 3.
Now down to those 3, which is what we expect in the final moments of the boost back burn. Now, as a reminder, we are not recovering the Super Heavy booster today. We are instead going to do some...
shutdown.
And there we had a good shutdown of the boost back burn. Next up will be the jettison of that hot stage ring.
Avionics power and telemetry nominal.
Great call out there that everything looking nominal aboard the Super Heavy vehicle, which is returning to Earth, and we're going to be doing some experiments with it, including a higher angle of attack re-entry, as well as some engine tests as it gets closer to the Gulf. We are, again, because of these tests not recovering it, we are sending it to the Gulf
Dude,
on
the tracking
purpose
is actually
to do those tests. But again, you see the booster on the left-hand side of your screen. You see ship with 6 healthy engines continuing its ascent to its planned suborbital trajectory. Everything going very well so far for Starship's 9th flight. Now 4 minutes, 15 seconds in. Great views from inside of the aft engine area of ship. They're looking at those 3 sea level and 3 Raptor engines on the right-hand side of your screen.
I think that's just liquid oxygen.
The booster doing its LOX dump, that liquid oxygen dump. So because we don't need some of that liquid oxygen propellant in its tanks, we vent that propellant out to lessen the booster's mass as it comes in for its landing.
Kerbal.
Just absolutely gorgeous views watching these 2 vehicles do their respective things in the skies over Texas here today. And Dan, we're approaching the 5-minute mark into the flight. Super Heavy is descending rapidly. What can we expect in the next few minutes as it does its atmospheric tests?
They can't really do anything about it.
As we had talked about, Super Heavy might not have a very smooth ride down. We're going to be putting it through this higher angle of attack. So we're kind of pitching it up a tiny bit, increasing drag. We've done this in wind tunnels. We've done this in computer modeling. It shows that sometimes the control isn't great, but only one way to really prove it out, and that's to get real-world data. So here comes Super Heavy.
Could this be fatal to the ship?
It should be igniting for its landing burn.
I think it's just tilting, but there is a leak.
About 40 seconds.
There's got to be. I mean...
Booster's coming in, though. Oh my god, that entry heating is insane, dude.
Then bring that down
to
that
looks sick.
As we talked about earlier, we will be intentionally shutting down.
You're seeing the same thing I am, right?
Shutting down one of those 3 center engines intentionally to push the limits of the Super Heavy booster.
It should be 2 center and 1 outer, and then it should be...
And continuing to see 6 healthy engines on
also,
the
it's
ship,
going to be a very hard splashdown because they said the booster is going to
and 3 vacuum engines
shut
still
down
ignited
before, like 100 feet
as
before
the Super Heavy booster
water.
is making its way back down to Earth.
We can see those grid fins doing some heavy work.
Booster landing startup.
Ignited for our landing burn.
What are you right now?
It exploded.
Oh!
It may have ended with that landing burn.
Kaboom! Yes, Rico, kaboom!
Does look like we lost telemetry from the booster once we started into that landing burn.
Whoa, oh my god.
Did you hear confirmation that the booster did demise?
Oh no, wait, I'm going to go back. That was
freaking
cool.
Booster landing.
As the
ready?
limits of the Super Heavy booster.
Ship Raptor, chamber pressure is nominal.
Okay, there's subsonic right there.
And continuing
then
to see
startup should be
6
right
healthy engines
here.
on the
608,
ship.
I think.
3 sea level and 3 vacuum engines still ignited as the super heavy booster is making its way back down to Earth.
We can see those grid fins doing some heavy work.
Booster landing startup.
Crazy.
Engines to
All right,
shut
ship
down.
is still running good
That
though.
will be
Is that where the fire was?
Second engine or second stage engine.
No, fire was
off.
in the ship.
And
this
these
is a
are
different camera,
some
I think.
incredible views, Dan, from the aft end of the ship.
There was a leak inside the ship.
Watching as the engines stay ignited with the Earth in the background.
Let me look at Everyday Astronauts thing.
I mean, in theory, it's still there, isn't it?
It's not alive, but the ship isn't alive. Or the booster isn't alive. But yes, it is still there.
The booster.
I mean, there's parts, but.
All right, we got about a minute
left. Well, you said the fire was in the ship.
There.
As we get through the final stages into its
Yeah, there was a fire. There was a leak or something inside the ship's engine bay, but it looks like it's not there anymore.
Oh, they got it under control.
No, they can't really get it under control. It just went away on its own, I think. Or it should have been like right here.
Terminal guidance.
Area.
Level and 3 vacuum engines still ignited.
I'm
Making its way back down to Earth.
All right, just about 30 seconds to go.
Oh no.
Terminal guidance.
Startup? No. Where's booster up?
Like startup already happened.
It's dead.
See shutdown of the Raptor engines. We do stagger these, so we do the Raptors first. Those three have shut down successfully. Sea levels still running.
Ship engine cut off.
Yeah.
So the center 3 are still running.
Ship engine cut off.
There it is. That's insane, dude.
What was that right there where all the smoke came out of the bottom?
That was just liquid oxygen. There is a fire.
Yeah.
Ship engine cut off. The 3 most beautiful words.
What was that?
Ship engine.
Oh, I see it.
I think that's no. Look. I think that's one of their vents right here. Look, you see this? I think that's one of their vents.
No.
One of the Wait, what?
That's what I was looking at. Yeah.
We reflew a super heavy
I don't
booster
think
for the
that's
very
supposed
first
to be
time
there,
in
though.
9 test flights.
Because why would they have a vent on the side
its
like
orbital
that?
trajectory. Again, it's going to remain suborbital for its mission today. But it ignited ignited all 6 of its engines
Is that
and
just
made it all the way through SECO just now.
That's liquid oxygen. They're doing a liquid oxygen dump just to get rid of whatever wasn't used, and then get it ready for landing in whatever an hour.
That's ice on the side right there.
Yeah, that's frost.
What a moment.
Holy hell.
Incredible.
Why is it just slowly freezing?
Ooh, still lots to come for the rest of this flight.
Well, because it's in
per usual. I need to collect myself.
Oxygen is like
hey Chris, how's it going over there in Hawthorne, man? How's everybody doing?
Oh,
that's cool.
I think the elation and the excitement and the happiness at what we just saw achieved carried through across all of our sites. What an incredible view to see Starship back orbiting the Earth just under 11 minutes into our mission. Absolutely exciting to see all of this. And super pumped especially to see all of the team's hard work in action here today. As guaranteed, it has been an exciting evening so far for Starship's 9th test flight. We lifted off a little bit after 6:30 p.m. after a couple of holds that were triggered at the T-minus 40-second mark, but we were able to clear those, one on the Raptor, one on the tower, and we were able to lift off successfully from Starbase. 33 out of 33 Raptor engines lit on the Super Heavy, all 6 engines lit on ship, bringing it to its planned suborbital trajectory around Earth. But as Dan said, we've got a lot still coming up in our flight sequence. So coming up at about T plus 18 minutes, 26 seconds, we'll have the first deployment of simulated Starlink satellites planned from Starship. That will be followed at about T plus 37 minutes and 49 seconds by the relight of a single Raptor sea level engine in space. This is going to help us gather data on our ability to do a deorbit burn for future Starship missions that will go orbital. And then, of course, one of the biggest tests yet to come is the new heat shield modifications to Starship. And that'll start with re-entry into Earth's atmosphere at about the T plus 45 minute mark, which should take about 16 to 18 minutes to complete.
Look.
Now, today's reentry is going to test that heat shield like we said. Specifically, how Starship will hold up to 100 missing heat shield tiles on its thermal protection system. Now, we purposely took those 100 tiles off over very critical areas of the vehicle to be able to safely test on a flight
I thought
like
you were
this
saying that's amazing to my Apple. I was really excited.
What might happen on an operational flight in those areas if we were to lose the primary heat shield tile over Starship?
Holy crap!
Very critical test
I need another big
and then
Apple.
after that, we'll have the final descent where we will again be pushing Starship to its limits. We definitely pushed the booster to its limits today to gather data, and we're going to be doing the exact same thing on that ship, seeing how the ship handles various flight conditions that we will need to fly in as we look to one day soon bring ships back to Starbase for catch and reuse. Now, while there are payload simulators on Starship for deployment today, as we will see in a few minutes, the primary data and the primary payload for today is the data.
I'll let you know when
and today, just like with Starship's previous test flights, that data is coming to us courtesy of our Starlink network. In fact, it is from Starlink that you are seeing these wonderful views of ships in space right now. So, and I can't wait to see Starlink really provide those epic views and that data transmission during reentry, which is very, very critical to getting that data during reentry. So, Dan and Jesse, it's been an exciting day so far. There's more to come as we get ready for Starship's first ever payload deploy. What can we expect next here in the next few minutes?
Thanks, Chris. Just going to reiterate, thank you to the Starlink team for these incredible views today. In a few minutes, Starship will deploy 8 Starlink simulators, similar in size to our next-generation Starlink satellites. The Starlink simulators will be on the same suborbital trajectory as Starship, meaning they will passively re-enter the atmosphere, just like Starship. With tests like these, we can see how Starship's payload deploy systems work in flight while ensuring that the simulator satellites pose no safety risk to people on Earth or for other satellites in orbit.
The camera's exposure.
Now, this also ensures that any parts of these simulator Starlink satellites that do survive re-entry splash down harmlessly in the middle of the Indian Ocean.
Besides, like Starship and Falcon 9.
And then before we get there, though, we're going to have to open up that payload deploy door. So we've only ever done that one time before. Pretty sure it was Flight 3. Someone on the internet, please check me. But that was the only time we ever opened it. And we've had Starlink simulators on the last 2 flights, but we haven't gotten to this moment yet where we're able to open up the payload door and start deploying these. It's going to be pretty cool. We've got them stacked inside of the Starship payload bay. And we'll have potentially a couple of views. You saw one camera pop up. Yep, there we go. Look inside of the payload bay of Starship. You can see them stacked down in the middle of your view. There's kind of 4 on either side, so they're sandwiched on top of each other, a stack of 4 right behind each other. And then we're going to pop the door open. It's on the right side of your screen, so we'll see that open up and then start firing those Starlink simulators out into space.
No, those to camera view. Because it was being
We are expecting the payload door to open in a little over a minute from now.
Are those the Starlink?
And then once that payload door is open, about a couple minutes later is when we will start.
Yeah, I'm behind you by a little bit.
Start dispensing those Starlink simulators.
What's your T-minus walk
on the stack? So should be able to see them kind of firing out from right there. So
yeah, you're ahead of me. It's plus.
Eventually, these are going to carry
now we're
dozens
in the plus time.
The next generation of Starlink satellite into space, and those are going to enable some truly insane things in terms of speeds from space and what we're able to do. Starlink's been really great for Starship. Obviously, getting live video back is really cool, but just the amount of high-speed telemetry, everything we're able to get back is insane. And for a development program, that's kind of everything. We're in excess of 130 or 160. My numbers are fuzzy right now, just like my brain is. But well in excess of 100 megabits per second of downlink, and a lot of that gets eaten up by video. We've got dozens of cameras across Starship. We added several more for this flight. You saw a couple of those as we have essentially 360 degrees.
You can see the lock stick right there.
Open the pod bay door now.
Yeah. When are they going to open those doors?
It should be in the next minute or so.
Well done, SpaceX team. This is an improvement. No matter what comes next, well done.
No, it's not no matter what comes next. Well,
now we are expecting the
if
payload
it's
door
stupid,
to
it's stupid, and they didn't do a good job.
Any moment now, so we're
It should be
watching
opening
out
any
for
moment.
that.
So it's on the
Again,
right
you're
side.
looking at the inside of Starship.
It's on this right side right
as
here.
it's suborbital.
How's it gonna open? Is it like a swing? Is it gonna like open up, or is it gonna slide up? That's the question.
It's on the right.
Yeah, it's on the right side of the screen, or like the ship.
Well, we heard the door open was in progress.
Door open was in progress.
It was unable to actuate all the way open, so they are going to close it back up.
Unable to
told
actuate.
Me no. Said, I'm sorry, Dan. Can't do that. Looks like we won't get the door open today.
No.
But that's okay.
They just don't.
This is obviously a test we want to be able to do before we're deploying full-on Starlinks. But the real focus for this, now that we are in space, is getting to that reentry. That is the most critical phase of Starship that we still have to prove out.
The door again. Like, if my PC stops working, I try it again.
All right, well, so it does look like we're not going to be able to deploy Starlinks today, but we should have pretty frequent views from Starship.
Just open it.
Cut in and out every once in a while, but should be pretty regular.
Reopen it.
We are in darkness right now, so might be a lot of black. But the cool part is when we get to reentry, it's going to be daytime.
Yes, and we did that on purpose so that we can get some live daytime views as ship is returning back to Earth.
All right, so we are going to take a break. Enjoy these views as we get them. Enjoy the tunes. We'll be back in a couple of minutes when we get ready to relight one of those Raptor engines on orbit. See you soon.
So the Raptor engines is going to relight at about like T plus 37 minutes, I think.
That would make an.
That's 17 minutes from now. So.
Oh my God! It's the top of the shop. Purchased. I got mine coming. And there's more. And there's more. If you go to the
Let's go to NSF.
I'm on NSF.
Yeah, I'm gonna NSF and then see what their launches look like. See what their cameras look like.
They don't have cameras up right now. They just have like their shirt.
The Starbase Live up. Starbase Live is up. So.
And there's also another one.
Yeah, I'll tell you when they're actually showing footage again.
So,
if you just look at Starbase Live, it's up there. So.
Yeah, but different cameras, right?
Yeah, it's different.
I take some credit for this working because we opposite jigged it successfully. There you go. Wow. I'm on three frequencies. I cannot believe you guys. It's
struggling to find the angle.
He's struggling to find the ship.
I would be too in his situation, actually.
Yeah.
He's struggling, dude.
Wouldn't you be struggling though?
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know what kind of tracking camera they're using and how to operate it.
Oh, so it could be decently difficult.
Yeah. Just looking in the wrong direction. There it is.
Nothing for Julia to capture, but we did send Julia to the keys. Just in case.
She could have seen it at Cloudy. That was also the other option, right? That we're not sending people because it's gonna go
That
up.
plume is actually crazy. So.
I want to see that too.
Somebody play the video of me yelling at clouds from Stardust Update like 3 years ago. Stupid clouds. But seriously, Julia for us to provide an additional angle. So thank you to her for that, and just yet another way on how we try to up our game every single launch. All of you guys, new angles and new ways to cover things, new ways to hopefully not explode.
So Al, thank you. Amazing work and great job still in mission control. Question. Anyone wants to take this one? We didn't do the. We don't have to worry about it. When are we looking for that new flight on?
Current plan for the unit flight would be 37 minutes and 40.
Here's the top.
Hello, hiya.
Great tracking.
Great tracking, he said. My garden is moonlit. Where I'm gonna put this?
It's a big boom.
$57? Hell no. You're not getting my moonlit strawberry for $57.
My work is easy because I use ClickUp. Here's how I keep track of all my tasks. I start by brain dumping everything I need to get done in a list view. Next, I set a priority and a due date to keep things on track.
Hello? Can I skip ad, please? Oh my god, that was interesting.
The lock sign.
Ship 35 and it's good space. We're waiting on.
Water deluge is going. So here we go. I see engine ignition. It is lifted off. Here we go. Flight 9. First reuse of a booster engine. B-14 flying for the second time in only 5 months. I love that. Thank you. I needed this. As my audio call out.
Mission.
Not recovering it, we are sending it to the Gulf.
And continuing to see shutting down one of those 3 center engines intentionally to push the limits of the super heavy booster.
Chamber pressure is nominal.
And continuing to see 6 healthy engines on the ship, 3
state separation
and 3 vacuum engines still ignited. As
I
the
love
super heavy
state
booster is
separation.
making its way back down to Earth.
You can see those grid fins doing.
You know who else
work.
did?
Landing startup.
United for our landing.
Not Martin Luther King.
That might have looked like a boomy boom, maybe. I don't think booster survived.
Peek that engine view. Booster doing the boost.
6 health. Those 3. The split covering it on the area of ship there. Look, lessen the boosters. And we're approaching the 5-minute mark into the flight. Super Heavy is descending rapidly. What can we expect here in the next few minutes as it does its atmospheric tests?
Yeah, now as we had talked about.
But something we do have coming up is the Raptor in-space read-write demo. That's coming up at approximately 40 minutes into flight here. That's actually scheduled for 21 seconds later than it was before the last flight. Of course, the last flight didn't actually get to that point, but an interesting note of the timeline. So that's coming up
at 40 minutes.
All right. I'll be back in just a second.
Okay. Interesting going to happen right now?
Not for another 10 minutes, no. So, I'll be back. All right.
We'll see. My cacao tree is almost done. I spent 2.5 million on it, so. Are they taking a break?
Yeah, they're taking a break because it's just in. Yeah, it's just chilling right now.
It's kind of.
For another 10 or so minutes, and then it's going to do a Raptor relight, and then
it'll get back to business as usual soon.
Soon, yes.
Just not now, because we're in space. So it's kind of like a plane. Now we're just kind of flying. We're not landing or taking off. We're just in the middle.
There we go. There's some angles from ship.
Beautiful.
Actually,
it's ascending now.
It's coming.
It's gonna pass over South America, or no, Africa soon, not South America.
Hold on, I'm gonna bring Cassidy in here to show her how good I got at her game with it.
Take a shot then. That's weird. It lost. It's just spinning super fast. I think we lost out of. Yeah, it is spinning really fast. So I think we had a leak because it is spinning way faster than it should be. Let's hope they don't trigger the.
All right, if you're just tuning in, we are about 30 minutes into today's flight test. And the ship is on its suborbital trajectory. As you can see in some of the views and from some of the telemetry, we are in a little bit of a spin. We did spring a leak in some of the fuel tank systems inside of Starship, which a lot of those are used for your attitude control. And so at this point, we've essentially lost our attitude control with Starship. We are still on a path toward re-entry. We are suborbital, so no matter what, we are going to enter. However, this lowers the chances for it to be a controlled
I had 2
re-entry.
million at one point,
so
Cass.
if you think back to Flight 3, when we had something similar happen,
3 million at one point.
just the end system of a loss of attitude control, we were in a roll by the time we hit re-entry. So we are going to re-enter. We should hopefully still have views. The Starlink satellites are pretty robust to still maintaining contact. We've got 4 of those terminals on the vehicle, and they're pretty robust to maintaining contact even when we are in a spin, essentially. So we should hopefully continue to keep live views. It's going to still be dark until we get a little bit closer to entry, as we are a little bit. We're coming up on Africa. I believe we do swing just to the south of that continent. And by the time we start heading out over the Indian Ocean, we'll start heading into a sunrise. So, not looking great with a lot of our on-orbit objectives for today, where we were hoping to do the PEZ deploy and relight an engine, and then really importantly, get into that controlled entry to really put the heat shield through the ringer. Nonetheless, Starship marching forward towards that re-entry over the Indian Ocean, so we'll continue to hang with it and give you any updates as things continue to change.
For a re-entry still, which will be kind of cool.
Well, you kind of have to.
Well, yeah, they're not gonna trigger the FTS system. They're gonna still go for a re-entry, just with no attitude control. So it's probably not gonna live too much. It is rolling at a really fast rate.
I see that. What's going on? I think I've seen your drone do this. Is this just spinning back and forth?
Yeah.
Which way?
I don't know.
Are you watching NSF?
I'm still watching the SpaceX stream.
Oh, okay. But you see this red, the rolling, right?
Yeah. I'm kind of curious what that is, because it should just be like completely nighttime. It should just be completely dark right now. So I think it's just whatever light is like reflecting off of, I think, the gas that was leaking out. I think it's just reflecting off of whatever light.
I'm pretty sure it's filtered light. What kind of launch footage could they have at this point? Launch is done.
There's maybe shredder camera or like shredder cameras that just do these like the shot live. That's what a lot of people who go to the Starbase with cameras do. They just put set shredder cameras and then they go however far away. And then as soon as it gets to a time, as soon as like right before it launches, they'll trigger their cameras to start recording.
Oh, it's like, so they're out of danger?
Yeah. Somebody can be within 4 miles of the launch site.
I'd imagine. Can't have people dying.
We are in faster spin though. It's spinning faster each time.
You spin me right round, baby, right round. Do you like the spinning? It kinda is. It's just randomly spinning. Is there a weight imbalance or something?
What do you mean weight imbalance?
Because, like the fuel, it had to imbalance the weight.
All right, so 36 minutes, 15 seconds into today's flight tests. You're seeing some flat movement here on the ship. If you've been following along, we have essentially lost attitude control on the ship at this point. It is suborbital, so it's still headed to the exact same trajectory as before. We were not able to get that payload door open and deploy those nose cones. We've been dealing with some leaks on the ship. This is also what led to that loss of attitude control. So at this point, we are kind of in a spin, and we are also going to be skipping that Raptor relight. If you've followed through the history of Starship, something similar happened, different cause but same symptom back on Flight 3, where we weren't able to maintain attitude control in orbit. And so we're going to skip the relight of that Raptor engine while we're in space. We are going to still proceed with entry, but as we are not able to control the attitude of the ship, as we get into entry, it will enter in whatever orientation it is in at the time, which does not bode well for the ship's heat shield.
Why does he keep calling it attitude?
We're not
it's
going to be
altitude.
essentially aligned the way that we want to do for re-entry. So it is definitely coming down. It is definitely heading to the Indian Ocean.
Damn.
Our chances of making it all the way down
He's got some
are
attitude.
pretty slim. So we'll still get
so
as
why
much
couldn't
data as
Cater
we
make
can.
it to
We're
this?
still getting live telemetry, live views from Starlink the entire time, and we'll continue to. Don, we are about 10 minutes
This is
away
like the
or so,
important thing.
until we start getting into entry, and the light will start to pick up.
This is one of the things that we do together.
We'll start to see a little bit more daylight, and we'll, as always, as long as we maintain that comm link, get some plasma on the way in, and start to bring the Starship back through the Earth's atmosphere. So that coming up
we had to get
in about
together
10
quite a
minutes
few
or
times
so.
for that one.
So we'll check back in with everybody in a little bit.
Okay.
Back to just chilling and watching the rocket spin.
How much time do we have? Do I have enough time to eat dinner real quick?
I mean, you won't miss a lot.
I mean, I kind of want to see it just fall and die. I mean, that's sick. Backwards.
Meeting should start around like 100 kilometers. So how much 20 right now? About a kilometer every. Right now it's a kilometer about every like 9-10 seconds. So probably not enough for you to go eat, because it'll probably go below 100 kilometers in the next like 4 or 5 minutes.
So just wait.
Yeah, if you can.
I 100% can.
Looks like it's still leaking though, I think.
It makes sense.
Well, I mean, if it's still leaking, then it would have been a smell. Oh yeah, it's leaking right there. I believe that's what is making it leak.
It makes enough sense if it's leaking.
Cool though.
Why would they sit here and try and get attitude
They're not getting
control back
anymore.
It's already done.
Yeah, they're not able to
Yeah, but
attitude control.
NSF was talking about maybe they should try and get it back. It's like, you know, you're not gonna get it back.
No, they can't do that without the reaction control system, and that requires fuel. Is that heating, or is that just... That's fired.
Literally.
I think it's already going through engine heating.
I'd imagine. Like it.
This is this is fire. That's flames.
Yep.
So we have plasma buildup now, so.
Yeah, I can see that. So there's no chance it survives, right? Because it doesn't have any boosters.
Well, it's not. It's definitely not going to relight. It's just going to smack into the ocean. But oh wow.
What's going on? Those Starlink satellites. 4 Starlink satellites.
Oh yeah. Oh no.
All right, so we are 42 minutes and change into
the
today's flight test. You're seeing.
Did they relight?
Show start.
No.
As Starship is getting closer to
And
its
by?
re-entry.
Oh,
if you're
no,
just
we're good.
tuning in, we were able to successfully make it to orbit. Run into a couple of issues as we've coasted to our entry point over the Indian Ocean. At this point, we had lost attitude control of the ship and entered into a spin. The team made the call to do what's called passivate the vehicle, so we're essentially venting all of the remaining propellant overboard, and it's going to make an uncontrolled re-entry. Important to note, this is a contingency that is planned for, and we clear the zones in the Indian Ocean where these entries could take place. So we're not going to come down exactly where we would have had nothing happened, but we do clear a tremendous amount of space out in the Indian Ocean in the event that we run into this. We understand that there are always risks, essentially, with these flight tests, with the hardware.
That's a lot of fire.
Really
is it coming down vertical?
When it comes to protecting people.
And it is one thing to note is we will actually still re-enter in our planned airspace zone, which is good. That is exactly what we planned for. You know, we do plan for if something does go.
How do we know telemetry? It's the altitude
and
speed.
That we have enough airspace cleared out for situations
so
just like this.
So as long as that's still being updated,
re-entry is still just that really critical phase that we need to try and gather as much data, as much information as possible.
Are you getting an award
fully
at your
reusable
banquet?
heat shield has never been.
Are you getting an
before.
award tomorrow at your
History
banquet?
of space flight.
I don't know, actually.
And that's
because we're making your guys'
Starship
awards.
still has to crack, and so we had a whole range of experiments.
Brody Rotel or something like that.
Oh yeah. Looks like they just lost telemetry. Oh no, it's still going.
Able to do a lot of our on-orbit objectives today.
But
there it is. Just the fact
that
we
got
it into space was just a really big moment for a lot of the team.
Yeah, and another thing to note is
Yeah,
that
they're
Super
poor
Heavy
little
did fly
Starlink
for its
satellites,
second
bro.
flight
They
today.
did not deserve.
It flew on flight 7, and it made it all the way to our shutdown of all the engines and stage separation, getting
they just got
ship
caught in the
into a
crossfire
suborbital
of this
trajectory
test.
today. It did.
They couldn't even go into space.
13 engines, but it did demise at that point. We did plan to fly it back down to Earth at a higher angle of attack, and we do expect it to stress the vehicle a lot more than what we've seen
Starlink satellites
previously.
are
So
just
it's not
forced to die
unexpected
right
that
now.
we did lose the booster before we got to the actual landing.
I mean, am I wrong?
So we're gonna continue to hang out and see if we get any updates.
They're not gonna
on
survive.
ship. It does look like we might be getting some video back soon. There we go.
Whoa,
this is a
crazy.
view essentially on the top part of Starship. You're looking up at the payload bay and towards the nose cone. So views are going to be a little bit scarce potentially, as again we are in essentially a tumble. We had lost that attitude control. So Starlink, when it's able to connect, able to feed this down. We are at the phase where we would expect entry to start within the next minute or so. So we are entering uncontrolled, but again, we're entering into an airspace and a sea space that is cleared and monitored in advance of launch and before we get to the airspace.
That's insane.
And with the views that we are
going,
able
but
to
it's
see, you
like
are seeing a lot of that plasma build up.
Barely.
During re-entry, we do expect the vehicle to see about 1,400 degrees Celsius, and there you can see the flap feeling that temperature there, a little bit melting away. But As we expected with the spinning of the vehicle, we are no longer controlling the attitude of the vehicle.
I'd
So
honestly
this is
imagine
now,
so.
at this point in the test flight, it is
them to
expected
lose some tiles.
to see it begin to demise.
If you're not
on its way
losing
back down
some
to Earth.
tiles,
and so we'll stick with it for as
then
long as we're
you're not flying.
kind of getting any reach back from the ship as it starts to make this re-entry.
I think they just lost it.
Yeah.
But
yep.
Yeah. So it's re-entering actively right now. And again, we did do what's called passivation, so you essentially vent all of your excess propellant overboard before you hit the atmosphere. That's a safety measure we can take on the ship while you still have contact with it. So that was done. It's now coming down
Telemetry's
the
gone.
determined hazard area that was cleared ahead of flight.
So
controlled, so we're not
no
going to
footage
get
anymore.
all of that re-entry data that we're still really looking forward to. This is kind of a new generation of ship. It has different flaps,
I'd imagine
shield, a whole lot of things that we're really trying to really put through the ringer. As there's a whole lot we still need to learn before we get to kind of the next step that we're hoping for, which is going to be that ship going orbital and eventually coming back here for a catch.
I mean,
getting through
you might have some
one of these fully is going to be really important. It's not going to be today, but we are just going to stick with the ship, see what else we can learn as it makes its way through the atmosphere and brings an end to the 9th flight test. So we'll stick with it.
So I don't think there's going to be any camera views of it landing unless there's like a cruise ship out there somewhere, or maybe if this island is manned, this island has planes on it, but I don't think it's going to go anywhere. So yeah, we lost ship, so yeah.
Give me one moment.
That was a pretty interesting flight. We had a lot of different errors. I mean, we had
temperature.
We had a problem. We had a quick disconnect problem.
The payload didn't open.
Which is what we're not turning.
Yeah, we had.
Dorn, as we said, 6 healthy engines on ship. We've got 13 out of 13.
A fire.
Yeah, fire.
Shutting down.
We have booster exploding.
And 3
areas.
Then we have the loss of attitude control.
Which
heading out.
Basically just exploded the ship eventually.
Yeah, it just.
We did have some incredibly stressing objectives.
I mean, at
today.
least it got to.
The super heavy booster flew for
at least it got to fly
flight.
a little bit.
It first flew on flight 9 and made its way to take ship all the way up
to
stage separation, doing its second flight ever, which is pretty incredible.
I mean,
we did lose the booster on the way back
no
down,
real good way
we did fly it back down at a higher angle of attack. So as expected, we did have it demise.
There's no real good way to.
Yeah, we were able to get all
like
the way
land
to
that
or though. So we made it through that higher angle of attack. So a lot of great data that's going to help us improve those future booster flights.
Yeah, we did do the directional flip, and it worked.
Yep.
It was actually a great view that we saw. And then ship continued.
I mean, realistically, there is no
in the beginning.
As
there is no landing. There is no
engine test. Great call out there.
There was no good outcome.
I just want to go back and
see those engines powering down.
Hostage was actually amazing.
Booster engine cut off.
That's what it did. Like
ship ignition.
For it being as weird as it was.
Incredible flip
the
by
stage,
super heavy booster.
The
and
stages,
you can see those 6
and
engines, those 3 engines on the ship ignited.
That was all really.
9th flight, now 4 minutes 15 seconds in.
It was all very interesting to watch.
Down to those.
I mean, especially comparatively, right?
On its way to space.
Because the Blue Origin
peaked that
it succeeded, didn't it?
Booster on Blue Origin didn't land, but I actually don't remember what happened to the infer stage. I think it got to orbit.
It did, and then that's right. The booster, we lost telemetry, and it died.
Yeah.
Engine view.
to do. We're here to learn, and that was definitely the vibe and the atmosphere here at Hawthorne.
Stage celebration!
It was great to see SHIP get all the way through its objectives today, but with all of that data that came down through the Starlink system,
we're
they
hired the wrong
definitely going to fix that and
Jebediah Kerman should have been getting
also
in there.
Great to see the responsible engineers.
That's
here
the one you
in
need to
control,
hire. He knows what
talking
he's
with the flight control teams in Starbase. We talked about how it's great having that expert,